Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, you know me. My name is Dr. Keith McNally. This is Coach's Corner, and you also know me. I want to get names right. This is Martine Blank. Yes?
That's right.
And
Yep.
you are a coach, and your company's name is School Wellbeing Solutions, only because I'm reading it here on the Zoom call. But we're going to dive into that because you are a master of people's well-being, and we really need to know one, how that's possible, two, why it's so important, and three, why is your focus on schools? And so let's dive into the first question first. How do we get to be in a place where we have mastery over our own well-being? You have a personal story behind this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Right now there's a little bit, and I'll get to the story in a minute, but I thought your question was poignant, which is what does that mean and why is it important?
Yeah.
There's right now you're seeing that thanks to COVID, COVID brought a lot of challenges and difficulties and a lot of suffering for a lot of people.
Mm.
At the same time, I think there was power in COVID because it exposed the need for uh, prioritizing employee well-being. And we know based on decades of research at this point, out of positive psychology and positive work um, and sort of organizational scholarship, we know that when people feel good in their bodies and minds, their performance improves at
Mm.
work. And so it's correlated directly with the bottom line. We know that sort of the industrial revolution era type of thinking around rest is for the weak. You can sleep when you die. That kind of mentality now we it's been debunked, and we know that causes burnout. It leads to burnout. So now you really see a lot of organizations taking responsibility over becoming what the U.S. Surgeon General calls uh, being engines of well-being. It's no longer enough to just not kill your employees as an organization. Now it's actually your responsibility to create the environment that's going to support their well-being, their thriving, so that they want to keep working with you. And they work has become a great source of inspiration and and purpose and meaning, and it can be a sort of a, like he says, an engine of well-being. And so that's what I focus on now. I think people are really coming around to that importance. One quick thing I'm going to just share is one pitfall people fall into sometimes in thinking about well-being in work is that it's not about making people comfortable. It's not about, oh, I'm going to take away every you know uh possible difficulty and challenge. And so that you often hear, like principals or superintendents in schools don't often don't want to invest in well-being because they think that it's going to make people soft. And so whereas the work that I'm doing, the work that we're doing in my company is not about entitlement. It's not about giving everybody everything they want. It's about empowerment. And you need to have resilient people in order to be able to transform systems and create positive, supportive systems. So that's just my little spiel at the beginning. I just want to say that because I think there's a little bit of um, confusion going around in terms of what it means to focus on well-being and why that's important. But yeah, my journey goes way back. I was a teacher. I was a fourth grade teacher. I was a high school music and Spanish teacher, and I saw that my kiddos were suffering not like they're suffering pretty indiscriminately all over the country. I was working with a company called Sky Schools, a phenomenal company that does work. It's a nonprofit, and they do work all over the U.S. And kids were stressed no matter where. I mean, kids were stressed in poor neighborhoods, kids were stressed in rich neighborhoods, kids wwere stressed where they had everything they needed and where they had nothing that they needed or very little that they needed. And so stress was pervasive. It just the reasons for stress were different. And often this stress lived inside their bodies, and often it was self-perpetuated, right? So even if you have perfect environments, you have everything you need, you're still going to find ways to drive yourself miserable. Often, in fact, you see kids that have a lot and they have everything at their fingertips, they actually end up sometimes experiencing higher rates of depression, isolation, suicidality. So you, so the issue very quickly, or the solution very quickly became, let's help people find a sense of inner peace so that they can become a agent for change. They can become part of the solution rather than a victim of their environment. And so a part of that was working with breath work and learning how to use breathing in order to access a sense of inner peace and a sense of resilience. And then later on, my master's in positive psychology at UPenn really helped me go full speed into researching why this is. Why is it that breathing is such a powerful tool for supporting people's well-being and resilience? So I know I've said a lot there, but thank you for the opportunity here, Keith, to jump on a conversation with you.
Well, then don't stop. Why is breathing part of the solution to being whole? How does that work?
Yeah. So yeah. Well, um, it's one of my teachers, or my best meditation teacher I've ever had, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who's a humanitarian leader of a multi, international NGO. Um, he said this one phrase that we keep repeating over and over again, which is, you can't control the mind from the level of the mind, right? So trying to, so if you've ever been laying in bed trying to go to sleep and you have racing thoughts, it doesn't work to tell yourself, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. That's never going to work. It's so ridiculous, right? Or if you're super angry and you turn yourself and you say, don't be angry, or you look at yourself in the mirror, don't be angry, don't be angry. So focusing on trying to address issues that live in the mind, like insomnia or anxiety or anger, or these emotions from the level of the mind, doesn't work. So we need sort of to be able to utilize and leverage the body in order to shift. So 80%, so there's a connection between the body and the brain, right? And 80% of the transfer of information actually goes upwards from the body to the brain, not the other way around. And so there's this connection, especially between the heart and the brain. And so when we start to learn how to access and improve our internal state, to move from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system, right? From rest and digest from fight or flight to rest and digest, then we're empowering ourselves to be able to interrupt these cycles that sometimes we're not even aware that we're having. So cognitive behavioral therapy, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but just go with me for a minute. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps us see that in between a trigger and a response or a reaction, there's something in between, right? There's a trigger, and then there's a belief about the trigger, and that leads to a consequence, right? If somebody steps on your toe and you think they did it on purpose, the consequence is that you might feel angry, right? Somebody steps on your toe and the belief is that you think they did it on accident, then you're not going to be angry. You're going to forgive them, perhaps. And so the belief in the middle there really determines the consequence. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, is that the belief influences our body, right? When we have a belief about, this person did it on purpose, all of a sudden our heart starts racing. Mm-hmm. And we start feeling things, and cortisol spikes up, and our sympathetic nervous system goes into red alert, and we start perceiving that as angry. Sometimes we won't even be aware that we're perceiving that we're angry, but we can perceive it as anger, right? And so a really great way to sort of interrupt that cycle and to say, hold on, let me determine what to do with this emotion rather than letting the emotion impact everything I do, is through breathing practices. We know that every emotion has a corresponding pattern of breath, right? So if you're angry, you breathe in a certain way. If you're sad, you breathe in another way. If you're happy, you breathe in a different way. A wonderful study in Belgium showed us this back in 2012. And so the cool thing is that it goes two ways as well. So if we breathe in a certain way, we can also influence the way that we're feeling. And so this all of a sudden puts tremendous power in your pocket immediately, especially for kiddos, that, students that have grown up feeling like they're never in control of their emotions or their feelings or their reactions. Now having the power to say, hold on, I can be feeling something, but I don't need to immediately act on that. I can sort of have a break, as it will, or a moment of time where I can separate the stimulus or the trigger from the reaction, and then it becomes a response instead of a reaction. So there's tremendous science in breath. There's a wonderful book I like to recommend to people. James Nestor's book came out in 2020, which is called Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art. And just so many misconceptions about breathing going around that we all have, right? For example, the fact that carbon dioxide is toxic, and that we should get rid of it as much as possible. Actually, our bodies need carbon dioxide. We have more carbon dioxide than we have oxygen. And having higher levels of carbon dioxide allows us to extract more oxygen from our breathing. And so holding the breath on purpose, consciously, is actually a really good thing if you're doing it, if you're in control of it. Often we hold our breath when we're not in control of it, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, this is very exciting. I love talking about it, and I found that the power of this is exists when people start to use their breath to influence the way they feel. Now all of a sudden, the way they feel impacts the way they treat other people, and then the way they treat other people impacts the culture they're able to create, and the culture they're able to create impacts retention levels, impacts every performance outcome you could ever want. And it all really does begin with the internal state of leaders and people who are running organizations. Yeah.
So your focus then, given your name of the company, School Wellbeing, must be teachers, administrators. Where do you start
Yeah.
with your program?
Yeah. So I've always been drawn to schools, not because I love school. I don't love school actually, but I like
Well, you can't
kids.
say that on my show. Oh my gosh.
Well, I like education, but I don't like school. So
Okay.
that's there's a difference there, right? So um school right now is especially public schools in many private schools actually are designed in ways that don't allow for real human creativity and development. And
Mhm.
so the hope is that if we do get people to operate from calmer, more authentic, grounded spaces, that they're empowered to create the types of schools that are conducive to development and to health. I have 3 kids right now, under 3, a 2.5-year-old. He's almost 3. He'll be 3 in December, and then his twin brothers that are 10 months old. And it's insane at home, but that's for another day. But the point is, I'm thinking like, okay, what do I care about the most when I choose a school for my kids? And really it's happy adults. If we're gonna get really granular, it's happy adult. That's what I care about the most. It's like I want my kid to be around happy adults, because happy adults can create the types of environments that lead to happy kids. They have capacity to support kids. You can have a school with every resource, all the best technology, all the best programs, the best whatever. And I've been to many of these schools, but the kids are miserable and the teachers are miserable and they're making each other miserable. And it's not because of a shortage of resources. So it really does come down to, can the adults in this building or in this district, are they happy enough to have enough capacity to support? And so that's the mission right now. Is in School Wellbeing Solutions, our mission is to create anxiety-free work environments so that teachers can do what they're best at, which is inspire and share their passions, and they don't have to deal with the bureaucratic nightmare of what it means to be a teacher nowadays, and the sort of like conflicts that are not being resolved because people aren't communicating in effective ways, or because everybody's walking around with so much stress and tension in their bodies that it inevitably comes out in the way that they relate to other people. And so our offering right now, our core offering, which is incredibly it's coming back with a lot of really powerful data. We're looking at pre-post data. based on our offering for school and district administrators, we'll take a group or a cohort of leaders, right? All the principals, assistant principals, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, all the sort of central office leaders in a school district, be a group of anywhere from 30 to 50 and sometimes more. And we'll go through what's called a resilience journey, where people get to know themselves and understand and have more awareness of what's going on between your ears. You know, what's the quality of your self-talk? Are you blaming yourself for everything? Are you blaming other people for everything? Are you kinder to other people than you are to yourself? Why is that? Do you give yourself the same level of grace that you give other people? What we look at breathing practices, we look at mindfulness, we look at thriving relationships and creating psychological safety on teams. The idea is really to create an environment where people feel safe and comfortable and seen, so that they have the capacity to support in effective ways the people that we're essentially paying them to support, which is our kids.
Cool. Where are you located? Where is your core office? And are you expanding?
Yeah, so right now, we're in Princeton, New Jersey, which is where my family and I live. We're working with the majority of school districts in this county. So right now we're with Lawrence Township, Princeton, schools, Hopewell Valley, East Windsor, Robbinsville, Ewing. Like we're so fortunate that we have the support of pretty much every school district here. And but we are expanding. So we're also in Pennsylvania. We're working in Arizona, California, and Hawaii, and we've done some work also with other school districts around the country.
Cool.
So yeah, it's growing, and we're bringing on new coaches as part of our team, because coaching is, as you know, is super powerful when you're able to have that one-on-one connection with folks.
Oh yeah.
And so that's a core piece of the resilience journey, right? The resilience journey is these 8 sessions, these 8 module cohort work, but we also, each person gets their own coach that they work with as well.
So with the limited time that we have left, give our audience, those people who are tuning in to say, I need to make some kind of change, either in my school system, teach them how to breathe right now. What are the essential elements of breathing in about 1 minute or
Yeah.
less?
Yeah. So first of all, people come from all different levels of preparation, and so some of us really are completely burnt out. Some of us are really still have a lot of hope, and so I want you for a moment to just put aside whatever's happening. You know, whatever your mind is telling you that you need to be doing, or that whatever needs to change in order to make your life better. Our minds will always have mental tendencies, which for example is the if only game. If only I had a different job. If only I had a different husband or wife, or whatever. We play the if only game all the time. I want you to set that aside for a moment and just be here fully present if you can. Okay, so empty the hands, sit comfortably, relax the shoulders if you can. I'm going to invite you to close the eyes or look down. Okay, I'll close the eyes as well.
Okay.
And before we start, I just want you to bring your awareness, just a very gentle awareness, to the way that you're breathing in this moment. Typically, we're breathing 25,000 times per day, and we almost never bring our attention to it unless we're out of breath. But for now, I want you to notice the breathing. And I'll invite you to breathe through the nose and just see where the breathing is going. Is it going into the chest? Is it going into the belly? Good. Now I'll invite you to notice the temperature of the breath. Is it colder on the way in or on the way out? Just take note of that, just gentle awareness. Good. Now I'll invite you to do a very simple practice. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. So we'll breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and then breathe out for 8. Okay, so breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and out for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can repeat this a couple more times. Hold and out. Relaxing the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders. And when you're ready, gently opening the eyes. Good. So hopefully that was beneficial to you. Hopefully you got some sort of shift in mindset or in your sort of your physiological state. But yeah, it's been awesome to be here with you today, Keith.
Martine, thank you so much for this conversation. For those of you who are watching and listening, hopefully you breathed with me and got some benefit from it. I'll see you next time. Take care.